Hello, New York. Thank you very much for coming out. I thought I was in Chicago instead of in New York because of this weather. My goodness. So I give y'all some props and great thanks for coming out in this cold, because the hawk is talking. I'm Zeinabu IreneDavis. I'm the director of ArthurChéry. Thank you. My better half will be here for the Q&A. Marc ArthurChéry, so we'll do Q&A with him and myself, and maybe some other folks. We'll see who's here afterwards. But before we begin, I just want to give a big shout out, because this took 25 long years to get here. Yeah. So, and if you ask my brother who plays Tyrone in the film, you'll see how crazy he is. It's really 31 years, because we shot in 1993 and I didn't finish the film until 1999. But yo, this is 2024, so hey, this is the new, improved, and rejuvenated compensation. So I call it rejuvenation because it's really, quote unquote, a restoration, but really and truly it's a renovation, because we got to make it better than what it was before. And that is because, yes, it's technology, but it's also because I had a team and I didn't have to do all of the work myself, like I was doing pretty much all of the work myself back in 1999. So one thing I want you to pay attention to is, three things actually I want to pay attention to is the 4K allows us to see the images a lot better. And a specific example of that for you to look out for is when we have the L train footage, you can actually see the resolution in the L train, because of course we're on the L train in Chicago. We did not ask for permission. Shoot first, ask for forgiveness later, right? Any film students in here, you heard it here first, right? Okay. But also the sound. The sound, we really wanted to make it as accessible for deaf and hard of hearing to have experiences of sound. Just because their world might be hearing impaired, it doesn't mean that they have no sound in their world. They do have sound in their world. They experience it differently than the way those of us who are hearing experience sound. And so there are places in the sound, in the music, especially in the music, and in some of the sound effects where the sound may get really loud. And that is because they can feel vibration, especially Michelle, who's the lead in the film, who's deaf, Michelle Banks, who was here last night. She can feel vibration, so we wanted to make sure that there were parts of the film that we could get that to come across. Back in 1999, when I finished the film, it was only mono sound. So it was only coming from one speaker in the center of the screen. But now, when you guys are going to experience it today, you'll hear it all across, all these speakers, and in the center. So it's like, woohoo, yay. All that sleeping on couches for 3 months to do the sound design is not in vain, because you could hear it. And then finally, the captions are more accessible than they were before. Back in 1999, we were only able to have 2 lines of dialogue in the center of the frame, and it could only be 31 characters. So we had to limit, and I always felt bad for years because Michelle could not experience, and other deaf and hard of hearing people could not experience what the music would be, what the sound effects would be. Now in this version of the rejuvenated film, you can actually see the sound effects will be in the upper right, the music will be in the upper left, and one other innovation that my collaborator, Allison O'Daniel, who did the film Tuba Thieves, so as a hard of hearing filmmaker, she designed some software so we could actually move the captions. And so we moved some of the captions so that we'll be closer to the person who's speaking. so the deaf and hard of hearing know exactly who's talking in the film. So that's what the rejuvenation, see, I almost slipped. That's what the rejuvenation is all about. So I hope that you enjoy the film. I want to say thanks for just a quick thanks. I know I have some long-term supporters here. My family from National Black Public Media. Leslie, yes. Could not have made the film without National Black Public Media. That was like $30,000 a long time ago. Is well spent. I hope you feel that way. And also my cinematic sisters at Women Make Movies. They carried this film for many years. Where you at? Okay. Oh, I see. Thank you. And my new family, which is from Janus. Janus folks, please raise your hand so we know who to thank. Thank you. And anybody here from Criterion today? Okay. And then Cinetech. Anybody here from Cinetech? No? Jason, where are you? Oh, he's in the back hiding. Come out here, boy, get your flowers. Come on. Jason. Please give this man some applause. Thank you. And then I also want to point out, we do have one person who's long term and who's the person that actually inspired this film way back when. And that is one of my best friends, Miss Asma Faye Jimmy, right here. And she's playing Udu in this, the music, which is the Udu in the contemporary part of the film. And she was the inspiration because she was in an earlier film that I did called A Powerful Thing, which will be on TCM on March 13th. And she is the lead in A Powerful Thing, and her response as being an actor to the situation that she found herself in as a character, Yasmin Allen, in A Powerful Thing, and writing about her response to compensation, that was the seed that gave Marc the story for writing about compensation. And part of that was because she had experienced a lot of loss from her dance community in the late 80s, early 90s due to HIV/AIDS. So thank you, Asma, 1,000 times thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let me get these last minute folks, come on in. Come on in. Thank you all. All right. Okay. See you after. Please stay for the Q&A, and please continue to support the film. Send out whatever emails, social media. We need to support. This is amazing, wonderful. It's so rewarding to see a sold out crowd. We want to keep that happening and keep it going across the country. The film, you can find more information about the film on Janus at compensation.film, and also on my website, Zeinabu IreneDavis, my whole name, ZeinabuIreneDavis.com. Right. Okay. Thank you all very much. See you afterwards.
Hi everyone, I'm Jocelyn Luckett, assistant professor at NYU, and it is my wonderful, wonderful privilege and pleasure to be here to have a conversation with the filmmakers, both filmmakers. Coming. Professor Zeinabu IreneDavis and director, producer, and screenwriter Marc ArthurChéry on the stage. Give them some love, please.
Thank you all. You all were live. I really love you all as an audience. Can I take you on the road, please? Thank you.
So just say for me, both of you, 1 to 10, how sweet is this moment?
11.
You got your mic?
Yes, yes. Maybe the director will pay me finally.
When the director gets paid.
So take us back. I know that some people have had a chance to read the wonderful New York Times and New Yorker pieces on the film this weekend. But the origins of this story, this was not meant to be a story quite like this. Can you tell us how you decided, both of you, and especially I want to hear from Marc, how this story changed to incorporate the profound talent of a Michelle Banks?
Okay. The story was written to be somewhat of a shorter film, kind of an essay on diseases, meditation on illness and history, the existentialness of Black folks here and there, struggle, the struggles of peoples against various social forces. And then we knew that it was going to have two parts, just like a period piece and a contemporary piece. And then we found ourselves in St. Paul, Minnesota. It was in August, I believe. We lived in Chicago then, and Chicago is cold, right? But St. Paul was already cold. Chicago was still hot and steamy in August, but St. Paul was cold. And Z had been, she had been asked to be a judge on, there's something called ITVS. Are you all familiar with ITVS?
Yes.
It was the first year, and Z had been asked to be a judge, and it was brutal. They had maybe over 80 applications to read.
Excuse me, your memory is faulty.
Okay.
There was 800.
800. And I had gone with her. I drove while she was reading stuff. And we also love this actor called Lumley. Some of you know, great actor. He's in, anyway, another story. And we knew he was from St. Paul, so we said, oh, let's go visit St. Paul. And we knew he had been, his parents were Jamaican. And lo and behold, we saw a Jamaican restaurant in a block on St. Paul, and an Ethiopian restaurant. Okay? And next to, in one of those restaurants, we ate at both, and one of them had a sign of a black deaf theater coming to St. Paul the next day. We had never seen, we had never heard of a black deaf theater, and we said, well, we're gonna go. A nice break for Zeinabu the next day, and we went the next day and we saw Michelle perform. She did monologues of for colored girls. She did a monologue from an Alice Walker. And a poem by my doctor, and she was mesmerizing. And from that moment, she said, I'm gonna have her in this movie. And the script had already been written. And at the end of the play, we went up, and Zeinabu asked her if she wanted to be in the movie. And Michelle kind of thought about it. She's like, yeah, she's thinking we're probably groupies, folks who have nothing better to do. But she said yes, and then everything changed. So the story had to change. We had to make it a deaf story. There's lots and lots and lots of research. It pays to be a librarian. That makes the research a little faster if you have a librarian in your life. And we did a lot of research because we wanted to serve the truth. We wanted to be true to Michelle's experiences with, and we didn't want to stigmatize her as or her character as a deaf person. We didn't want it to be, oh, you know how some people think, you're black, but you're black all the time. That's all you do. You think, oh, I'm black, right? So you know that, and there is the temptation to do that to a deaf guy. They're deaf all the time. They're in that wheelchair all the time. They're sort of thinking about. They don't drink coffee. They don't have sex and anything. So we watch, and Z, who was a very strong director, as you can tell, she wanted to see every movie, but we didn't get to see every movie. Every movie ever made in Hollywood that featured a deaf performer. We didn't get to see them all, but we saw many of them. Some of them were very good. Some of them were in the silent era. We saw some that said, "Oh no, we don't want to do that." We saw some that were great. The period ones were better. The one that was you would have thought would have been the best was actually the worst. And some of you may be fan. I like the actor, William Hurt. You know what I'm talking about? Children of a Lesser God. And in that movie, the tools of communication of Marley Madeline, many times you don't see it because there's close up. It's as if I was in the movie. You couldn't see my mouth. So Zeinabu would say, "Hell no, we're not gonna do that." Z is a scholar and an admirer of African cinema. In African cinema, there tends not to be a whole lot of close-ups. It tends to be more medium shot or long shot. Things are happening, and it's not just the face. So Z was already trained by education and by temperament to not do what happened in Children of the Lesser God.
Can I let her just get in a
Yes.
little bit on
Film school, Professor Tashome Gabriel looked at me and said, "These two gentlemen were going to take care of me," and I looked at him sideways because I'm from North Philly. I don't play. But he was right, and this one introduced himself and this guy as the Haitian sensation. So the rest is history. I married this one. Or he married me, I should say. I think the big thing in what I want to tell, and if there are filmmakers in the audience, the major thing with that whole process of adapting it was thinking about how we had to frame. We already wanted to pay homage to silent cinema because there were a lot of contributions by many different communities to silent cinema. One of the main ones being deaf actors and performers. Those were the ones who were in the first films, and they don't get much credit or love. And Lon Chaney was Coda, a child of deaf adults. And if you know your cinema history, you know that Lon Chaney is like super important in early cinema history, so look him up. And I think that we want to make sure that we kept the framing so that whenever Michelle was speaking, her hands were in the frame. That took some doing because, again, as Marc already said, you're more primed to like cut off the hands when you're doing close-ups, etc. But in this case, we had to have Michelle's hands present because that's how she communicates with us. And so we always had to make sure that we included a frame that when she was speaking, that you saw her hands moving in the frame. So that was one that we as hearing filmmakers had to really make sure that we paid attention to and made sure that we kept it as authentic and as honest as we could.
Yeah, and what's so profound, like you just said, about the difference between what we would have seen in 1999 and what we have the privilege to see now, 25 years later, even further enhances your sensitivity and care to different communities, differently abled audience members. Can you talk a little bit about how the qualities of your rejuvenation actually speak to the themes of the film? I mean, the things that you were able to address here further amp up the themes of the film. Can you say a little bit about that?
You want to go first? Okay. So I think the big thing was, again, the thing that I didn't talk to you about before was that I talked about the technology, but bad professor. I should have talked about the community, because what happened was that we created a community to actually work on this rejuvenation, you know. And for me, I was lucky. My community included my family. So you see credits for my two daughters, Mazi and ArthurChéry, and then you also see credit for my main arm. On the other arm besides him is Nicolette Evangelisti over here. So come on, get your flowers. Hello. And so, you know, we sat in the sweltering 106 heat in the middle of July in San Diego with no air conditioning, and actually did those captions. Mazi and her friend Sade, thank you, were music majors, and the trick was make sure you say enough about the music so that the audience can get the feel of the emotion, but we don't want to hit you over the head and tell you how you are thinking about it. So just a little bit. And those girls, you know, they 22, 23 years old, they worked some magic on it, because this old dog was like, and they were just like, they got it, you know. So it was a multi-generational effort, is what I'm trying to tell you. And then the youngest one, Desta, is like Miss Eagle-Eyed Cherry. And she was spotting things when we were in the color correction session that, you know, he and I are looking at, we don't see it. She's like, no, Mom, there's like 2 specks on the left side and the lower part of the car. We're like, okay. And the color correction, Greg Garvin said, can we give this girl an internship? Because she knew what she was talking about. So it was really a marvelous experience and a multi-generational experience, which is why it is rejuvenated. So, yeah.
Probably one thing that technologically, there were things that could be done now that could not be done 25 years back. For example, the captioning. Sometimes you'll see on several spots on the screen they'll say serene music right here, whereas right there you might see something else like a funk sound. You could not have more than just that, the captioning.
Yeah, the 2 lines.
The 2 lines. Zia has a way of explaining the 30. What is it? The 30 lines of sound.
Oh, 32 tracks.
I don't know anything about sound.
That's my department. Yeah. So, but I talked about that when I did the introduction, how we were able to like actually hear the sound. I saw you all react to it. That's why I was like, "Ooh, y'all are great." So thank you. Y'all really got it. I really appreciate that. That makes us feel good that we did all this hard work, and it's like, you know, you could make that change. And the only thing I would say to that is that I didn't come by this because I'm the great Zeinabu Davis. I came by this because I came out of a group of filmmakers called the LA Rebellion Filmmakers. And the LA Rebellion Filmmakers, a group of filmmakers who came through UCLA Film School from right after the Watts Rebellions in 1965 up through the Rodney King Rebellion in 1992. Don't get it twisted. The scholars say no offense. The scholars say it ends in the 80s with me as was the last ember of the rebellion, but I'm not. There's other people that came after me, and there's people still that are doing the same kind of filmmaking process that I was able to latch on to, and that is, again, to make representations of community and people who look like us, for us, by us, with the people who we live with. So when I'm teaching and when I'm making films, I'm actually bringing on my students, the people in my neighborhood, whoever it is, to do whatever to get the film done, because I don't have Hollywood, right? So I need my folks to make the films, and if y'all are aspiring to be filmmakers, I did it, y'all can do it too. So that's the whole, that's the whole ethos of what it is that we do.
I was given about 2 minutes ago the 5-minute sign. So let's take at least one question. Would you like? Yeah. So, all right.
So there are like so many things to say, but I was so moved by the. Thank you, Marc. So there are like so many things to say, but I can stand up. I was moved by the VEVE, the sigils of Papa Legba, who is the lawyer of communication, who presides Destinies and connects Ashe, and also the closing VEVE of Eyes, who is the lawyer of healing, but also arts and culture. So I was really moved by that. I want to ask you, yes, you mentioned that a little bit, but if you can expand on what inspired you, because, for me, it echoes the movies of Georges Méliès and our fellow citizen, Raoul Peck. So I would like to know who inspired you for the movie. Thank you.
I think all of those filmmakers inspired us, and particularly we're thinking about this week. We've just been, thinking about Sarah Malzambizanga and Usman Simbin from Black Girl. A lot of those like early filmmakers, just African filmmakers, were the ones who kind of like informed how we would go about actually making this. And you can't get better than Raoul Peck, master filmmaker from Haiti. He's like the top filmmaker in the world, one of the top filmmakers in the world. So that was really important to us, and that's why I want to encourage you all to come and see films here or wherever, because international film, you can learn so much, and there's so much great inspiration and stories that you get from seeing from films from other countries. And a lot of times the only places that you can see those kinds of films are here, at places like Lincoln Center or Metrograph, wherever, Film Forum, so on. So it's important for us to see the films as audience with people, because y'all were responding. We were responding to each other, with each other. The pandemic taught us that, that is something we need to treasure. And so I really want to just encourage people to keep coming and seeing new works by world filmmakers, because that is really important.
There's so much I would still like to add, but I know that we're out of time, but I want you to share with the audience what you're up to now. It's really special.
Okay. One thing just before I forget, because, I'm older. There are posters and buttons in the lobby, and we will be outside in the lobby for a little while because we didn't get a chance to talk to as many of you as I would like to. So we'll be around. So I just wanted to make sure. Thank you, Janus and Criterion, for the posters and buttons. I also want to thank our fabulous interpreter, Desiree. And the projectionist up in the booth, thank you. He's giving me, so I wanted you to know that, this team of Michelle Angela Banks and John Earl Jelks, they are my muses. I have to make another film with them in it. So I am working on a new film called Stars in the Northern Sky, which is about Phyllis Wheatley, the Black poet from Boston, Sojourner Truth from upstate New York, the person who said, "Ain't I a woman," that we all know and love, and Marie Joseph Angelique, because my mom is Canadian. And yes, you know, Canadians sometimes like to hide and say that they didn't have enslavement in the North. We were the good guys. Wait a minute. So Marie-Joseph Angelique was the woman who supposedly burnt down Montreal. But Canada has a stamp. This is 1734. Yeah, 1734. But the Canada just released a Black History Month stamp with Marie-Joseph Angelique's image on that. So John and Michelle will play multiple roles again. You know, I like to give them homework. But they, you know, I love them to death. But the next shoot will be in Akron, Ohio, in the early summer. And Michelle will be playing Sojourner Truth, and John will be playing the character John Malvain, who was a real character, a real person on the Underground Railroad up through the Erie Canal in Ohio, and he was an investor who had boats, etc., to carry people from different places to freedom on the Ohio waterways up there. So we'll be shooting that very soon, and at the end of June, early July. So I got my dream team. I just had to keep finding money to make them be able to do it. So, but anyway, yeah.
So, I mean, give her love. 25 years, like the most beautiful seasoned bottle of scotch or something, you know? I mean, the appreciation is so powerful. Also this year, the film was named to the Library of Congress National Film Registry. That's important. It's going to play here for a whole week, so make sure you tell your friends to come back to see the film. And the movement that she talked about, the LA Rebellion, her documentary about it, Spirits of Rebellion, will play at a theater downtown, Metrograph, tomorrow. We love all these theaters. We love Lincoln Center and the Metrograph, and she's sharing her love at both venues, so please support her and more of her films. She has a whole program of things that you curated and things that you created yourself, so see us tomorrow there too. All right.
Thank you all.